Africa, facing rising migration numbers. Questions around voluntary migration, incentives, and state-led deportation policies are likely to spark wider international debates. What remains clear is that the Trump administration's latest move is not just a domestic policy. It is a bold, controversial experiment in reshaping.
Good to know you never left. Now we'll bring you the remaining part of the news this afternoon. U.S. President Donald Trump has warned the Supreme Court that reversing his administration's global tariff policy would be devastating for the American economy. His remarks comes ahead of a key hearing this week on the legality of the tariffs, which have been a cornerstone of his trade agenda since taking office. Trump's legal team argues that the tariffs imposed on steel, aluminium, and other imports are justified under the national security grounds and have helped revive U.S. manufacturing. Critics, however, say the measures have strained international trade relations and led to retaliatory tariffs that hurt American businesses and consumers. The Supreme Court is expected to hear arguments from both sides this week in a case that would significantly shape U.S. trade authority going forward. Trump's strong stance signals the administration's continued commitment to protectionist policies amid ongoing global economic uncertainty and rising competition from nations like China. Moving ahead, investors managing more than $5 trillion in assets have urged the British government to expand its financial safety margin as it prepares for the upcoming national budgets. They advised Finance Minister Rachel Reeves to double the country's fiscal headroom to about £20 billion to strengthen economic stability and protect against future shocks. Analysts also suggested raising income tax as the most credible method to generate additional revenue. The recommendation comes as Reeves faces pressure to balance fiscal responsibility with political commitment to maintain tax stability. Economists have warned that limited budget flexibility could force the government to consider additional tax increases next year if spending plans remain unchanged. Increasing fiscal headroom would enhance the government's credibility in bond markets and safeguard its borrowing position amid lingering economic risk. Investors also cautioned against introducing inflationary policies, emphasizing that new measures should not fuel price growth or limit potential interest rate cuts by the central bank. They highlighted the importance of strategic spending cuts, particularly in welfare, to reduce borrowing costs and strengthen long-term fiscal health. Away from that, Canada has announced a significant overhaul of its immigration policy, aiming to cut the number of temporary residents by up to 1/3 while introducing a fast-track path for U.S.-based H-1B visa holders and other highly skilled professionals to gain permanent residence. The reforms unveiled on the budget's 2025 and the 2026-2028 immigration levels plan mark a shift from population-driven policies to a more selective, skilled-focused immigration strategy. The federal government says the changes are necessary to ease pressure on housing, healthcare, and social services, which have been strained by record-high immigration numbers. The reduction in temporary residence is designed to help balance public concern with economic needs, particularly as affordability challenges worsen in urban centers. At the same time, Canada aims to capitalize on the talent pool in the U.S. by allowing up to 33,000 H-1B visa holders and other skilled workers to transition to permanent residence in Canada by 2027, enhancing competitiveness and innovation. And moving ahead, the United States government has directed airlines to cut flights by 10% across 40 major airports as the federal shutdown reaches its 36th day. The decision aims to relieve air tariff controls who have been working without pay, leading to severe staff shortages and flight delays nationwide. Transportation officials said international flights would not be affected, while domestic carriers are adjusting schedules and refund plans to minimize passenger disruptions. Airlines including United, American, and Southwest confirmed that operations will be scaled down temporarily. The Federal Aviation Administration warned that more cuts could follow its staffing conditions worsen. The prolonged shutdown has disrupted government services and raised safety concerns in the aviation sector, putting additional pressure on the nation's already strained air travel system. And now we'll be wrapping up the news with some sport-related story. Galatasaray delivered a dominant 3-1 win over Ajax at the Johan Cruyff Arena, with Nigerian striker Victor Osimhen still on the show with a stunning hat-trick. The Turkish side outclassed their Dutch host in all departments, leaving the Amsterdam faithful stunned. After a goalless first half, Osimhen broke the deadlock in the 59th minute, rising highest to meet a pinpoint Leroy Sancroz with a bullet header. Just 7 minutes later, they calmly converted from the penalty spot after a VAR check confirmed a handball by Ajax defender Yuri Baz. His hat-trick makes him the fourth Galatasaray player to achieve the feat in the competition since Burak Yilmaz's treble against Cluj in 2012. Osimhen's clinical performance not only sealed all 3 points, but also etched his name into club history. With this milestone, Osimhen joins Yakubu Ayegbeni as the only Nigerians to have scored a hat-trick in the UEFA Champions League, underlining his status as one of Africa's elite strikers on the global stage. And lastly, Inter Milan and AC Milan have completed the purchase of the iconic San Siro Stadium, setting the stage for its eventual demolition and the construction of a new modern stadium. Both clubs confirmed the signing of the deed of sales with the municipality of Milan following the city's approval of the 197 million euros, approximately $231 million. Land deal after a tense 11-hour debate. San Siro, nicknamed football's La Scala, has served as the legendary share home of the two Serie A giants and witnessed decades of football history. Between them, the clubs have won 10 UEFA Champions League titles and numerous domestic trophies. The purchase and years of uncertainty surrounding the stadium's future. With the land now secured, Inter and AC Milan are expected to accelerate plans for a new joint stadium project. The move is part of broader effort to modernize Italian football infrastructure and boost revenue potential. And that's a wrap on the news this afternoon, but before we go, we bring you a recap of today's top stories. Chairman of OPEC Board of Governors for 2025, Adeyemi Bello, urged Nigerian oil producers to shift from crude exports to domestic refining and value addition. Nigeria's telecommunications sector maintains growth trajectory in third quarter 2025, with active telephone subscription rising to 173.54 million, says NCC. International Monetary Fund reports DR